Hi. One of the viewers has asked me to video Marlborough Road. They pointed out that I've done bits of it before, as I've walked, for example, to Hinksey Park, but I haven't done the whole road, so I'm going to do that today. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about the history of Marlborough Road and Oxford's first railway, because the road might not be here were it not for the railway. I'm standing now on the corner of Western Road and Marlborough Road. That's Marlborough Road going south. That's Western Road going towards the Abingdon Road. And Marlborough Road also goes a little way north until it hits the river and the pipe bridge. And I'm going to stand here because it's quite windy, and I hope this will shield me a little bit from the wind. So in a minute I'll walk up and down Marlborough Road and have a look at the building styles, but let's talk a bit about the history first. The station here was opened 180 years ago and was Oxford's first station, opened by the Great Western Railway. There'd been a railway line from London to Steventon, which is a village 10 miles south of Oxford, since 1838. And there'd been various attempts to extend the line, but various interests had worked against that before, so it took some time to get it going. Station was eventually planned, built and opened in 1844, and the line that came to it was a continuation of the Steventon line, the London to Steventon line. And at about the same time as this station was opened, so was a station in Didcot. The station here didn't survive for very long, however, due to the line being extended northwards. In 1850, an extension was built to Banbury, which most people who live in Oxford will know where Banbury is, but it's about 25 or 26 miles north of Oxford. I've actually walked to it along the canal. It's a fairly easy, though long walk. Anyway, the railway was extended to Banbury in 1850, but the trouble was that it wasn't extended directly from here. Instead, a railway junction was built about half a mile south of here at a place called Millstream Junction, and the line branched off from there, and that made travel all the way a little bit difficult, because if you were coming, say, from Didcot, driving the train from Didcot, you had to take it to Oxford Station and then reverse back half a mile until you came to Millstream, and then branch off to Banbury. In 1852, I believe, the line was extended to Birmingham, and that just made the reversing problem a little bit worse, because there were more people using the line. So in 1852, a new Great Western Railway station was built, where our station is today on Botley Road. And the station here was closed to passengers in 1852, though it stayed open for freight until 1872. Okay, so that's the railway. And the railway came for some distance along what is now Marlborough Road. So imagine, 180 years ago, this wasn't a road, it was a railway. And it's interesting to think what people coming to the station for the first time and viewing a train for the first time must have thought of this steam and smoke belching monster. Anyway, the station here was closed completely in 1872 to freight as well as passenger, and the land that had occupied the line was sold off for housing, as was the approach road, which, as I've said, was along here, and the area occupied by the station itself. And part of the point there is that the railway was above flood level. It had its embankment, and the station and the approach road had also been built to be above flood level. Anybody who knows Abingdon Road or has looked at the fields on the far side knows how prone to flooding the area used to be. So the already raised land along here and along there and here was a very good bet for housing. So the land was sold off for housing, and the track was sold off as building materials, as were the station buildings. Now, I'm not quite sure when the first houses were built, but apparently the Oxford Building and Investment Company, which was a building society, bought 13 acres from the Great Western Railway and sold off plots for building. So they didn't do the building themselves. They bought land and then sold off parcels of land for builders to build houses on. And these parcels of land were generally sold off in groups of 2 or 3 or 4 house spaces, though sometimes as many as 8. So that is apparently why the houses in Marlborough Road tend to cluster a little bit into groups of different styles. I'd guess that the 2 that I'm pointing at now, the white painted one on the left and the one on its right, unpainted, I'd guess that they were part of a single sale, 2 house spaces, 2 plots, and likewise possibly that pair of houses. And now that I come to look at it, that pair of houses looks very similar in style to that pair, so they were possibly 4 plots sold off and built on as a single entity. And then that pair of houses is different again. So that could be another double plot, another 2 spaces. And I'm sure I'll find the same pattern up and down Marlborough Road as I walk it in a minute. 1879, the Oxford Building and Investment Company, the Building Society, bought 13 acres of land from the railway company and sold off plots for building, and little groups of houses were built on them. And the roads that were built in this way include Marlborough Road, Western Road, which I think was originally named Grandpont Road, and then it was renamed Western Road after the Great Western Railway, and also Brook Street and Buckingham Street, which are 2 side streets that go off to the left of Western Road. I can't remember which is which, but one of the streets off to the left is Brook Street and the other one is Buckingham Street. And also Cobden Crescent, which curves round from the top of Marlborough Road. And there's a date stone on one of the Cobden Crescent buildings that commemorates when it was built, which I think was 1885. So I'm going to walk along there now, and I'll probably get a huge amount of wind noise, which is why I'm talking at the top of my voice. So apologies for that, but it is very, very windy. And then when I've looked at the Cobden Crescent house, I'll come back and I'll video up and down Marlborough Road for the viewer who wanted it. So I'm coming up to Cobden Crescent now. And this may be the first time that anybody has ever bothered to video blog Cobden Crescent in Oxford. It's got some nice bird song. And that looks possibly like another pair or possibly triple of houses, maybe sold off as 3 similar lots. And there is the house with the date stone above the door, and it says 1885. Right, so let me now walk back to Marlborough Road and do an up and down. Okay, this is the north end of Marlborough Road. That is the gasworks pipe bridge. There used to be a gasworks on, I believe, both sides of the river, and the bridge was built in 1923, I think, and I've read that its purpose was to carry pipe from one side of the gasworks to the other. I'm not quite sure what the writer meant by carry pipe, whether they mean that people carried lengths of pipe across, or that pipes ran as plumbing from one side of the bridge, one end of the bridge to the other. I suspect the latter. The bridge has been closed for most of the past 2 years, and they finally repaired it, or repaired most of it, over the summer, but there are now problems with the towpath, which apparently was not strong enough to bear possibly the repair machinery, or possibly actually bits of the bridge, because of trees, self-seeded trees that had grown in it and eaten into the foundations. So the towpath is now closed until, well, they say February, but construction in Britain never ends on time, as anybody who's tried to drive from one side of the current railway station to the other knows. The construction company there gave themselves an extra year to finish the job. Anyway, I don't want to rant about Kier Construction now. Plenty of drivers will be doing that for me. So I'm at the north end of Marlborough Road, and I'm going to walk down and video this side, I think. And I'll read out house numbers from time to time, so that if you lived in Marlborough Road or knew it once upon a time, you can work out how close you were to where I am. And that is number 8, Marlborough Road. And that is number 12, which is an interesting numbering scheme. I don't know what's happened to 6, 4 and 2. That's a newish building which I think belongs to Pembroke College. That house with the peaked roof appears to be a one-off. And then we've got a group of, I think, 4 similar houses to its left. So 2 or 3 weeks ago I videoed Helen Road, which was named after Helen, the daughter of a builder called Thomas Henry Kingerlee, whose company is still in existence in Oxford and doing very well. And he built all the houses in Helen Road, but I suspect that the houses here were built by a range of different builders or building companies. And I'm now having to shelter under the tree because it's started sleeting. So I will probably cut and resume once it stops. Okay, well, let's try now. So I had my camera pointed at that group of 4 houses, and I'll continue from there. That's 42. And the green painted house is 50. And then we have a group of what looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 top windows. And I see the door lintels are all the same style. That's number 66, the one with the black door. Those are the grounds of St Ebb's School. maybe we should look out for Advent trail posters too, like that one. Poster 11. What present did the third wise man bring for Jesus? Gold, frankincense, and what? Well, it was myrrh, wasn't it? Those posters are put up by St Matthew's Church, which is a little further down on the other side of the road. That is number 92, the house with the door on the right, the blue door. And now I'm back where the station was, with Western Road going off to the Abingdon Road there. Anyone who knew this road some time ago, I think the Ethos Cafe and Hotel are relatively new, maybe 2018 or 19. There is Advent Trail poster 10 of 12. Question. Complete the first line of Jingle Bells. I'm not sure that I could do that. Isn't it something like jingle bells, jingle all the way? Oh, how I love to something in a one-horse open sleigh. And this is St Matthew's Church, which we'll see on the way back. There's a cut through there to the other side of St Ebb's School, the main entrance, and you can just see some green beyond the other edge of the cut through, and that's Grand Pont Park or Recreation Ground, I can't remember which they call it, and that connects with Grand Pont Nature Park over to that sort of direction, and you can walk all the way back to the skating rink on Oxpens Road and to the Gasworks Rail Bridge, I think it's called, that takes you out nearer to Friars Wharf and the newish housing estates there, Trinity Street and so on. The the houses with the sort of double porch, I don't know whether there's a special word for that. Those are 142 and 140, 142 and 140. So that looks like 4 houses, 4 plots sold as a single entity. And then Marlborough Road is crossed by White House Road, which oddly is called White House Road, one word there, and White House Road, 2 words there.
Merry Christmas!
Thank you, same to you. And that is the green space that I mentioned just now. And you can walk diagonally across it in that direction and connect up with the Grand Pont Nature Park. Now, somewhere round about here, another slightly later bit of history begins, and it's apparently signalled by the fact that the houses have no front gardens. 1882, a chap called James Archer bought land for 60 more plots on bought space for 60 more plots on land sold by Great Western Railways. Although he bought them in 1882, it seems that things were very slow to develop, and plans weren't even submitted to the city engineer, until 1887. And apparently it was a very narrow site, which is why the houses have no front gardens. But they do have quite nice back gardens, because if you go round the back, you'll find that they look out onto a meadow called Dean's Ham, also known as Archer Cowley's Field. James Archer later set up I think it was a sort of removals business called Archer Cowley and Co. Archer Cowley and Company. And I'm fairly sure somewhere that I've seen a van possibly renovated with an Archer Cowley and Company logo on its side. And for the first 10 or so years of its life, this bit of Marlborough Road was actually called Archer Road. But I suppose since they ran straight into each other, there was no point in keeping the distinction, and the whole lot was eventually named Marlborough Road. And now I'm approaching Hinksey Park. And for people who don't know it, it's at the end there, and you can cut across 2 streets on the other side, which more or less continue the line of Marlborough Road. This has nothing to do with history, but I do wish they had heating in the handle of my phone holder. Well, that's quite a large package of plots. There's a one-off. And that is 216 with the red door and 218 with the grey door. And now the style changes again. Yes, the road looks quite a bit more uniform down here. Right, I'm going to cut again and take shelter under a tree in Hinksey Park. Right, I had to try to avoid rain. And now here I am at the end of Marlborough Road. Oh, well, there's another Advent poster, so let's see what it asks. Advent Trail 2 of 12. Who are the mother and father of Jesus? I think that was Mary and Joseph, wasn't it? Oh, that's unusual. Oh, it's not a Christmas decoration, it's a solstice decoration. So yesterday was the shortest day, and it also had the winter solstice, which I think was around about 9:30 in the morning. Okay, so just a bit of orientation. That's the whole of Marlborough Road. That is Deanham Meadow, or Archer Cowley Field, that I talked about. It's behind those houses. It's flooded, of course. Looks very lush, I have to say. This is Hinksey Park. Now that's interesting. That is new, I think, if they have a mobile cafe every week. And I've done Hinksey Park before, so I shan't go in today. I'll go up the other side of Marlborough Road instead. So this is still what would originally have been called Archer Road. That's 165 Marlborough Road, the house with the white door. Well, those are obviously sold off as a single group. that is Newton Road, and that goes back to the Abingdon Road. The house with the paler blue door on the right is 131.
You know how you just watch them put it out there.
Yeah.
No, I'm reading my book.
Reading your book. So we're into the shop this morning and we're getting some new books. With the vouchers and stuff. So you're open to phone? Off that. Yeah, Christmas is a good time for it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, have a good Christmas. Yeah. Sit.
Now there does seem to be a difference between the houses on this side and the other side. For a start, these ones do all have front gardens. So what I read may have been incomplete. Maybe the plot of land, or the land that James Archer bought at first, was only on that side of the road. There was, of course, development further on the other side, along Newton Road, for example, and White House Road there. And I'm now coming up to one rather sad feature of Marlborough Road, namely Hodges Court. Hodges Court is named after a footballer who scored a particularly important goal sometime in the, I think it was 1920s. Might be Alan Hodge, or Alan Hodges. And it reminds us that there used to be a football ground here for the Oxford City Football Club. And I believe the ground was set up in 1900, and it continued until 1988, when Brasenose College took it back, much to the inconvenience of Oxford City. Okay, so that's Marlborough Road, houses on that side. That's Olney Court. I don't know whether the football pitch continued that far, and if so, when White House Road was built. And that is Hodges Court, where the football field used to be. So the character of Marlborough Road would once have been very different with that big green space here. And they'd have been playing football with the church overlooking them. Lord, teach us to pray. So this is a cluster of rather sort of miscellaneous bits and pieces, just south of what is now the Ethos Hotel. Now I'm back once again where the station was. And let's just have a quick look at the end of this side. Now that I think used to be a pub, the Marlborough Arms. main entrance being where the main entrance to the cafe now is. And it was quite a long pub. It had a sort of front lounge and then various rooms off the back. That is number 49 Marlborough Road. Blue door on the right. That's the back of one side of Cobden Crescent. Now I come to another large uniform group of houses. That's number 23, the Martin and Co. one. And this is where Marlborough Road ends. And one day I might even be able to walk from Marlborough Road to the Pipe Bridge without having to take a diversion, if the council ever gets its act together. Anyway, that is Marlborough Road. See you next time.